Well, hello everyone. This is Matthew C. Horn, author, motivational speaker, and dating coach, bringing you a video tonight titled, Ladies, Your Smoke Screen is Keeping You Single. This is going to be a good one. You're going to want to stick around for this. But before we go any further, tonight's video has been brought to you by my brand new book, How to Be Appealing to Successful Black Men for Black Women, and it's available at www.matthewchorn.com. And before we go any further, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and help me to continue to grow the channel. This is going to be a great one. Tune in and listen close. Ladies, your smoke screen is keeping you single. I can remember a time, this is maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I met a young lady, and she was very pretty. And we met, we got together very quickly, we hit it off, and things were going well. And this was someone who I could see myself being very satisfied with, in terms of maybe we could go down the road and see where things could go. She felt the same way about me. Even introduced me to her mother days after we met, by virtue of her mother visiting and being in town. And the attraction was there. We were both young, and everything that needed to be in place to take a very prolonged look at one another and go down the road and see what we could become, it was in place. So fast forward as the weeks progressed, this interaction lasted a very short amount of time. The weeks progressed, and I began to see something that, I noticed that, she didn't have the highest paying job. I saw where she was living. I was able to, put one and one together and get two. She, didn't necessarily have affluence, so to speak, but she was working, she was educated, and, she was finding her way. That's what young people do. We find our way. And she began to tell me that men would take her on, fancy dinners, trips, and, sort of roll out a red carpet. And I just kind of knew the level that she was on. And I knew the dynamic of the area, the dating dynamic. And I knew that men weren't necessarily doing those things just right off the break. And that was just by virtue of me knowing the landscape, being an expert, writing the dating books, and just, being in the dating scene. I knew that she was just telling me a bold-faced lie. She saw I was successful. She, saw material things that I had, and she was making an attempt to, sell me a smokescreen, put a smokescreen out there to make me think that I had to live up to something that men were not providing to her in any way, shape, or form. And, not to belabor the story, things went on. She took it a little too far. And I said, I'm good with this. And, she tried to come back every possible way after I blocked numbers. I had to block maybe 7, 8, maybe 9 or 10 numbers. The girl was relentless because she understood that she had a man that she really desired, a top tier man according to her definition, and she still attempted to enact a smokescreen, sell me a bill of goods that no other man had signed. See what she can get out of the situation, and see if she can get treatment from men that she's never received in her life, just because I was in a very successful position very young. Now, pay attention to a word that I used when I was describing the interaction. I was very satisfied with her. I was very attracted to her. Um, you know, Initially she appeared as if she had a good head on her shoulders. And, when a man is satisfied with you, he's in a place where he's willing to take a very hard look at you and see what kind of future that you two could have together. He's been dating around, but he sees you and you're an embodiment, especially physically, of everything that he's looking for. So it's very important that you show up as a very attractive, physically attractive version of yourself. And that man knows in the back of his mind that if you're normal, if you don't have a bunch of issues, you're not bringing a bunch of stupid stuff to him, that, he probably would be very satisfied with just you. Okay. And I was in that space, but I saw certain things by virtue of her putting out a smoke screen that turned me off. And once a man is turned off, it's no coming back from that. And that's a bad position to be in as a black woman, because of the pool of black men that you have to choose from. Many black men, women will admit they very rarely meet black men that they're very attracted to and into that want them back. And that's where the smoke screen comes into play. The smoke screen is the lie that begins with the lie that you tell yourself and translates to the lie that you tell to men and to society as a whole. The smoke screen is that I regularly encounter a particular type of man that you really don't. A certain level of men do things for me on a certain level that you've never even experienced before, or if you have, it has not been on a consistent basis, or you have not even gotten those things from the kind of men that you desire. A smoke screen is something that keeps very many black women single, and it doesn't have to be that way. The most empowering thing that a single black woman can do out here who desires marriage, who desires a top tier man, who desires a mentally healthy man who's mastered himself and mastered life, who's impacting the world around him, and the world around him is not impacting him, a very solid leader type of black man. The best thing a woman can do to get that kind of man and get on the road to getting that kind of man is this: be honest with yourself. Admit that the kind of men that you want really aren't around you like that. You see them, you might even see them in abundance. And if you're pretty enough, they'll interact with you, but you'll notice that these men are not sticking around. And that's for a very particular reason. And you're the catalyst. I'm being very honest tonight. Okay. You're the common denominator in one of two things. Okay. The first one, you're meeting the kind of guys that you desire, you're attracted to, and they're not sticking around. Okay. Number one, you're the common denominator in that. Number two, you're around these guys and you can't even reach out and test them, even though they're at arm's length. If you can just be honest with yourself and say, you know what, I desire a certain type of man, but I never had him, or he's never been able to stick around in the capacity long term. The best thing that you can do is just be honest with yourself, and then begin to prepare yourself for that kind of man. Learn what that kind of man is looking for. Learn what that kind of man is congruent with, and embrace the power to change. Identify those areas in yourself that have turned men off. Listen to what men have told you after the interaction has ended between you of them, or what they've told you as you two were still in the interaction. You're going to notice that there are some commonalities amongst what these solid, cerebral, and intelligent men are telling you about yourself. The smoke screen says I can treat every man the same. The smoke screen says even though my life is devoid of the kind of man that I really want, I can meet a top tier man that I'm actually attracted to, which is a rarity. And I can treat him the same way that I treat the other men that I'm not into. That single-handedly is responsible for many women and black women being single. The thought, the audacity to think that you can treat every man the same. Think of it like this. You rarely find a man that you're really into, attractive, and is coming at you the same way that you're coming at him, that desires you the same way you desire him. Start being honest with yourself. And I don't care how pretty you are. I don't care how decorated you are, what family you come from. It's time to start being honest with yourself and tell yourself and tell the world, you know what? There's a certain kind of man that I desire, but he's nowhere to be found. That is the most empowering place to be in if you desire a type of man that has been devoid of your life and devoid of your space. When you begin to develop that level of honesty, you're going to prepare for the kind of man that you want instead of approaching him as if you're something special to him, that he has to earn you, that you have leverage over him, and that he should be lucky to be with you, when you know that that man is in short supply. It makes no sense to treat every man the same. You don't have to be the woman who has the good man, who's showing up on a consistent basis, who's looking at you eye to eye, who's not placing himself over you. You don't have to be that woman who's out there trying to get back in touch with the man because you messed up so bad. And that man was patient with you to a degree, but you did something so egregious he had to just completely walk away. And there's nothing you can do. Once, they say, once a woman's turned off, think about, a patient man who's been there for you, who saw something in you, who knew that he could be satisfied with you if you showed up the right way. Think about what happens when he's turned off. He's gone. It's no bringing that back. Okay. And then once that happens, like I said before, you find yourself trying to get back in touch with him because after he leaves, it's like, okay, well, maybe I can kind of deal with men on that level now. And you go out there and you fall flat on your face because a man that values himself highly, a high value man, is not sticking around for that foolishness. He's just not going to stick around for it. And so you go out there and you try to find it again because all your friends saw this attractive, accomplished guy, and you and your friends really aren't dealing with guys like that. And he sees something in you, so he's like, all right, let's go down the road and see where we end up. And he leaves you, and now you have to save face, and you have to go try to get someone better than him, and you fall flat on your face, and then you have to grovel and come back to that man that you turned off. It doesn't have to be that way. You can get it right the first time. Just admit to yourself the kind of men that you really want are not available in your space at a high rate. There's nothing wrong with that. Some women would say that's weak. Some women would say, well, you have to project that you're this and you're that. Men aren't stupid. We know your options. We know the pool of men you have to choose from. We know that even though you go out and you say, oh, you have to buy me and my girls drinks and, you better do this, or what kind of car do you have, and, where do you work, and all this other foolishness in the material world that means nothing. We know that the guys that you deal with behind the scenes, especially if you're single, you've invested more financially in a relationship. That man probably is on a lower level, still trying to find his way through life and not making much progress. Men that you have to move into your space because they have nowhere to go. Men that you have to support. When you look at these gorgeous women who say that a man has to roll out the red carpet for them, if you really look behind the scenes, these are the kind of men they're dealing with. Men who aren't about anything. And if the woman could just admit that the men that she deals with are not of a high caliber and that she is probably in a better position working on herself so that she can get the kind of caliber of man that she wants, and admitting that the caliber of man that she wants is nowhere near her space. She dropped the smoke screen. And when you're honest, you tend to prepare. And when you're honest with yourself and you drop that smoke screen and you stop lying to yourself and lying to your girlfriends and lying to the men that you meet, something magical happens. You actually see value in preparing for that kind of man that you want and working on yourself. And you do that, and now you become recognizable to him. You don't turn him off. Because when you really grasp the fact and you accept that the kind of men that you wanted are nowhere to be found, or they've left you in a very short amount of time based on how you showed up. When you admit that, when you finally get another good man, or you just finally get the kind of man that you're into, you actually revere him. You understand his rarity, and you humble yourself, and you approach him as a mentally, spiritually, physically, and emotionally healthy version of yourself. There's power in accepting the truth and admitting that the kind of man that you want has not approached you in large supply. It's nothing wrong with admitting that, because that realization will open you up to preparing yourself so that when you meet this guy, number one, you're prepared for him because you prepared yourself. And number two, you have the proper amount of respect and reverence and thankfulness for this particular type of man. I have nothing more to say on this. Your smoke screen is keeping you single, but honesty will take you to your promised land. This has been Matthew C. Horn, author, motivational speaker, and dating coach. And I really hope that you took something very valuable away from this video. Remember, the truth will set you free. The lie will keep you in repetitive situational bondage. Tonight's video has been brought to you by my brand new book, How to Be Appealing to Successful Black Men for Black Women. It's available at www.matthewchorn.com. If you're in need of coaching, if you feel like this video has been of value to you and this has elevated your consciousness, I can, create this for you on a personalized level on a consistent basis. Email me at matthewchorn23@gmail.com. If this video has been of value to you and it's elevated your level of consciousness and understanding of relationships in the opposite sex, my donation information will be in the description. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. I'll be back with you very soon with some more videos. Thank you for spending some time with me tonight.